guys, it's Emma and I'm back today for you with another video, and today I want to talk to y'all about the books that I want to read in 2025. Alright, now normally I don't make books that I want to read this year videos. I just don't. I'm not a TBR girl, okay? The only time I ever really make a TBR is, if I'm doing a vlog or a very specific video. However, I've been keeping in touch more with, just new releases in general ever since last year. And I've got quite a few books that I am waiting with and with bated breath for this year, all right? And I thought, well, okay, let's make a video talking about the 2025 releases you want to read, and then maybe towards the end of the year, you talk about whether or not you read them and what you thought about them. Hence, this idea was born. I have 13 books I want to talk to y'all about, okay? So, before we actually get started, I would really, really appreciate it if you guys would look in the description box for all the links there that I have for you guys pertaining to stuff going on in the world right now, and those links will be down there for you guys to interact with and to share, and then down in the comment section, let me know whether or not you guys want to read these books, whether you have read these books, what 2025 releases y'all are waiting to read, the works, right? So with that being said, let's just get right into it. Now, normally when I decide to read a book, it has to follow at least one of three qualifications, all right? The cover is pretty, because, fish brain, all right? If I see something shiny, I have to go towards it. Hook be damned. If the title is sick, or if the author is someone whose work I've enjoyed in the past, all right? And with this book, it's the former. Now, this is the Starlight Heir. As of right now, when I'm posting this, whenever that is, I have already read the Starlight Heir. So, based on my feelings for when I bought this book, the cover, it's metallic. And also the magic system, from what I remember thinking about before I read this book, has to do with stars, which I thought was really, really cool. It's got a map. All right.
Stop playing. I mean, if they give me one right now, I'll tear it up live.
You put a map in front of me, and I'll shut the hell up for the next 20 minutes, okay? The magic system sounded really cool. The romance sounded great, all right? I just really wanted to read this book, and it was under 400 pages. It sounded like a really promising fantasy. This sounded like a book that was gonna be right up my alley. This book, as soon as I saw the cover, it was a, buy. Immediately. And that is Mother of Rome. Now, this is a retelling of the Romulus and Remus myth. Now, for those of you who do not know about the Romulus and Remus myth, I have a very shallow understanding of the Romulus and Remus myth. This is a Roman myth about Romulus and Remus. Romulus being the one who founded Rome. This is about their mother, Rhea Silvia, all right? One of the descendants of Aeneas. I know barely anything about the Roman myths, let alone Romulus and Remus, let alone anything about their mom. All right, so this sounds so cool. Look, I gotta say it. I need a palate cleanser from all of the mediocre Greek myth retellings I've been reading, all right? And hopefully this Roman myth retelling will be that palate cleanser. This next one is a very, very recent addition to this list, and that is Mask of the Deer Woman, all right? The second I saw it, I saw the antlers. I was immediately entranced.
You've charmed me.
This is about an ex-detective who becomes the tribal marshal for her reservation, and she is trying to essentially find out why all of these women and girls are going missing, and why some of them are ending up dead, and some of them just disappear without a trace. This sounds like a mystery thriller that I actually want to spend my time on, okay, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that big of a fan of mystery thrillers. I'm just not. A lot of times I figure out what's gonna happen, i.e. it being way too predictable, at least for me, or I guess what's gonna happen and then what actually happens is very underwhelming. Not to mention, this book reminds me of Sisters of the Lost Nation and The Only Good Indians, especially considering that in the synopsis it says that the tribal marshal sees like visions of the deer woman, which I can't wait to read this book, all right? I'm probably gonna pick this book up soon. I want to read Blob. This sounds like it's gonna be one of those books where it's just the strangest premise, but at the same time it's gonna be very, very profound, all right? I love books like that. I just read a book like that, Shark Heart, all right? I'm looking for more books like Shark Heart, and I think Blob could be one of those books, all right? This just sounds like it's gonna be one of those books that, in my opinion, somewhat masters art, all right, by bringing people in with just the strangest and oftentimes unnerving imagery, and yet leaves them feeling a kaleidoscope of emotions. Plus, it just sounds like it's going to be a more whimsical, less gory, less bloody, less body horror filled version of the horror. All right, I loved the horror when I read this last year. This is one of my favorite horror books ever. All right, and the Blob just sounds like a possibly more family friendly version of this. Okay, I think it came out like a few days ago, you know, on the day that I'm filming this. So yeah, also the cover, it reminds me of the jelly that you have in those toys that like pretend to barf, right? You know, like the slime. I just want it in my hands. I want it between my fingers. This next book, all right, I'm gonna have to read y'all the title, all right, because the title's just very, very long. For those of y'all who do not know me, hello, my name is Emma, welcome to my channel. I read monster smut every now and then, particularly as a palate cleanser, and one of the books that I want to read coming out this year is The Rake, or the Orca who met his match in a Selkie desiring revenge. Now, I have an idea of what you're thinking about when you look at this cover, all right? Now, I'm gonna tell y'all what we should be looking at, and therefore what we should be thinking when we look at this cover, and that is, first and foremost, titty worship. Magnificent! 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 We love to see it, all right? And by we, I mean me. I speak French. I have not read, at least not to my memory, any like monster romance pertaining to like aquatic creatures or anything like that, so this is definitely going to be a first for me. This sounds like it's going to be kind of out of my comfort zone, which I tend to like. All right, I did that with alien romances, and whew, it might be a revenge story to some degree, which I love me a revenge story. What can I say? I want to read Cursebound in 2025, all right? And this is one of the most exciting books that I have on my TBR to read this year. Saara El-Arifi has quickly become one of my favorite authors, all right? I loved The Final Strife. I loved The Battle Drum. I am frothing at the mouth and chomping at the bit in order to read The Ending Fire, which is the third book in the trilogy, all right, at the end of the trilogy. And am I shaking in my boots because The Ending Fire is literally half of the size of its two predecessors? Yes, I am. So obviously I picked up Feybound, all right, because it was a new world, it was a new magic system. Saara El-Arifi, if anything, is going to come up with a unique ass magic system, okay? It's fae, humans, and elves, and it's just a really cool world. And it's a romantasy. I ended up giving Feybound 3 stars, all right? It wasn't awful, but it wasn't amazing either, which is one of the reasons why I'm wary to read Cursebound, all right? I want Cursebound so badly to be, for Feybound, what the Battle Drum was for The Final Strife, all right? The Battle Drum is literally one of the best sequels I've ever read in my life, ever, all right? In terms of a sequel, all right, it didn't stagnate anything. It elevated the plot, it raised the stakes, it added characterization, it did all of that and more without making it confusing. Obviously, I think we all want, you know, the following books in a series to be better than the first ones, or the ones that came before them. But particularly with Feybound, Feybound had so much potential. Feybound had so many things that I really enjoyed, and I hope Cursebound is so good, all right, because that one's a trilogy too. And yeah, no, I'm very excited to read Cursebound. My most anticipated book of the entire year, all right, is The Buffalo Hunter Hunter. Stephen Graham Jones is also one of my favorite authors, and you tell me, all right, you knock on my door, and you tell me that Stephen Graham Jones is writing a standalone. I'm sat. Then you tell me, oh yeah, no, he's writing a standalone that is a Western horror. I'm on the ground. All right, and then you tell me that he's writing a standalone that's a Western horror that's about a Native American vampire looking for justice. I'm in the ground in a coffin with a bouquet, all right? This sounds like it's going to be so good, okay? I have read 3 other Stephen Graham Jones books, and I've given every single one of them 5 stars, and I definitely think this one could uphold the streak, all right? The week that this book comes out, if you need anything from me, don't. Okay, because I will have crawled out of my grave, dragged my corpse to the bookstore, grabbed one of the books off the shelf, walked out of the store with it, and then I will have been reading it in my coffin. Comfortably, mind you. I want to read The Prince Without Sorrow, all right? First of all, the cover. I don't know what y'all expected, all right? Again, fish brain. I see something pretty, I swim towards it, all right? This cover is so simple, yet at the same time so elegant, all right? I love this cover. It's supposed to be a fantasy debut and the first book in a new trilogy drawing inspiration from the Mauryan Empire of ancient India. All right, I love books based on certain points in history, and I admittedly don't know anything about Indian history, and this sounds so cool. It's got witches, it sounds like it has earth spirits, it sounds like it's gonna be a romantasy, all right? It sounds, from the premise, all right, it sounds like it might have political intrigue, and I love it. I eat that shit up every single time. Y'all don't get it, all right? I can't wait for this book to come out. This sounds like such a promising fantasy book. Again, on account of beautiful covers, I want to read Blood on Her Tongue. All right, this looks like a painting that you would find in a museum that had been commissioned by a king to essentially portray a hunt, right? Because of the hound on the cover. All right, this cover is just gorgeous. It reminds me of like Gothic themes. This sounds like it's gonna be a vampire book, all right? It sounds like it's gonna be historical fiction, and all of that meshed with Gothic elements. You have a recipe for something absolutely delicious, all right? And with this and the Buffalo Hunter and another book on my 2025 TBR, are scary vampires back? Because if they are, girl, hi, welcome back. We missed you. Speaking of vampire books, all right, I really want to read Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, and one grows deep, and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. Are you kidding me? Shakespeare wishes. I've been hooked on Victoria Schwab's writing ever since I first read This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet, all right, and I've been waiting with bated breath for her to write a book that, 1, obviously interests me, and 2, does not continue an already existing series of hers. I can't wait to read this book. The cover looks gorgeous. And y'all, I think scary vampires are back. This is the book that I am probably the wariest to read, and that is Lore of the Tides. I read Lore of the Wilds last year, and I thought it was subjectively very entertaining. I had a good time, all right? However, objectively, Lore of the Tides is not a good book. All right, it's not. Objectively, that book has a lot of problems. Problems that I really, really hope can be tied up or at least fixed just a little bit in Lore of the Tides. All right, but I mean, it's a duology. All right, I'm still really interested in this story. Again, I think it has a lot of promise. It's just bogged down by a lot of unfortunate mistakes. But the thing that really makes me side-eye this book a little bit is the cover. All right, because while it's gorgeous, don't ever get me wrong. If you've read Lore of the Wilds, I'm sure you'll understand what I'm talking about here. There is a love interest in Lore of the Wilds. And something happens with that love interest. And let's just say, if that angle is continued romantically in this book, we're gonna have a problem, okay? But all we can do is wait and read it and see what it is. And I think if done right, like any sequel, I think this book definitely has the potential to make up for what Lore of the Wilds lacked. Speaking of beautiful covers, oh my gosh, I want to read A Treachery of Swans. All right, now the first thing that I want y'all to dissect, all right, pause the video if you have to examine the majesty of this cover, all right? This cover, the second I saw it, immediate thoughts of Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. I adore the art style of the movie Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, all right? The colors are so contrasted, all right? They're so saturated. There's like this odd monotone color scheme that's pretty uniform throughout the whole thing, but at the same time it's disrupted with blots of really, really vibrant colors. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. All right, so that's what this cover reminds me of. This cover also reminds me of the girl with the pearl earring, all right, with the earring and just the ear area in general. Oh my gosh, I love this cover. All right, I found out that the artist who designed this cover is actually the same artist who designed Lucy Undying, which, as much as I didn't like that book, the cover is to die for. As much as I want to read this book based on the gorgeous cover, all right, I am going a little outside my comfort zone with this, okay, because this book is YA, it's young adult, all right, and I don't normally read young adult anymore, simply because I think personally I've grown out of young adult. However, there are 1 or 2 books every now and then that are that are YA, and they'll be like, hey girl, no, come back over here, we have something you might like, you know. This book sounds like it's gonna be so good. It sounds like it might have gothic elements in it. All right, it's gonna be a retelling of Swan Lake. I don't know about y'all, I can count on one hand, all right, how many times I've heard of a retelling of Swan Lake. Do you see a hand in the air? That's right, because I haven't heard of any. All right, I can't wait for this. This sounds like it's gonna be so interesting. And then lastly, all right, Saara El-Arifi really is loading up that plate, all right, because she's also releasing Cleopatra. Now, beautiful cover aside, because we all already know where I stand upon this. You're telling me that the same author that made the Ending Fire trilogy and is making the Feybound trilogy is writing a Cleopatra retelling?
This is art, Mr. White.
The bookstore is gonna hate to see me coming, possibly even fear me, all right, because I'm gonna clear that bitch out, all right, and this book right here is gonna be the cherry on top, all right? I'm not leaving that bookstore without this book. I hope my local Barnes & Noble knows that, all right, so that they can prepare in advance. Y'all don't get it. I'm gonna be fighting people off to get this book, all right? Give me that copy. So you guys, those were all the books that I want to read this year. I hope that you've enjoyed. I hope that we all have a good reading year, okay? Because as of right now, I'm filming this on January 31st. Girl, these 31 days have felt like 31 months. So with that being said, you guys, I hope that you've enjoyed. I hope that you continue to look out for more stuff on my channel. I hope that you guys are staying safe. And lastly, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day.